the locals prepared a remedy that they've been using for generations. All the women got together and peed in a bucket, and we applied that to my foot. We walked the grounds, and Kenny showed us the legendary tarantula holes. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's that retired guy who's lived through the 60s twice and is still having fun. I definitely had some fun recently. We decided we needed a Caribbean vacation, and we picked the island of Antigua to go. Antigua is part of the Lesser Antilles, that string of islands on the east side of the Caribbean, and it's one of the Leeward Islands, which is to the north of the string. It's near St. Kitts and Nevis, where Alexander Hamilton was born, as well as St. Martin and Montserrat. It's the larger island of the country Antigua and Barbuda. Now, it's not pronounced Antigua, even though Pat Sajak kept doing that all the time.
Frequently give away trips, as we did tonight, to the island of Antigua. But when you look at it, it looks like it's Antigua. It's spelled that way. So I can't say it right. So this is what they have to do for me. They have to sound it out for me with that, because I'm stupid.
But don't be too hard on Pat. I thought it was Barbuda up until recently when I learned from the locals it was Barbuda. It took me 40 years to learn that. Now, there aren't a significant amount of things to explore there in terms of culture or landmarks, but it's known for its beaches. 365 of them, one for every day, as they say. The temperature is 82 every day and 75 for the low. If you're looking for a beach vacation, this was exactly the place we needed to be. Now, I'd been to Antigua before, about 45 years ago on a cruise. Long story short, I was out paddleboarding. I jumped off the board and came down square on a sea urchin. Now, most people can't remember the event in their life when they've absolutely felt the most pain. Mine's easy. When they towed me back to the shore, the locals prepared a remedy that they've been using for generations. All the women got together and peed in a bucket, and we applied that to my foot. You just can't make this stuff up. When I got back to the ship, the doctor aboard said that there wasn't really anything he could prescribe that would be more effective than what I was doing. So I self-medicated the rest of the trip. So in a way, this is a revenge trip as well. That sea urchin, it's payback time. I know what he looks like, and I think I've got his DNA still in my foot. Now, packing for the trip was relatively easy. You regular viewers will remember that on my video on packing, it was for a beach vacation in Hilton Head. So it was very, very similar. But the one thing to remember is Antigua and Barbuda is a foreign country. So you would need your passport, your global entry if you have it, and of course, travel insurance. Your health care, whether you're on a cruise or traveling to one of those islands, is no good down there. And anything that happens, major or minor, is on you. I never go anywhere without travel insurance when I'm going to be uncovered, even for an instant. Neither should you. We decided to stay at Dickinson Bay, which is on the west side of the north end of the island. Now, all the beaches in Antigua are lovely, including Dickinson. So we picked it basically for three reasons. First, it's closer proximity to the airport. Second, it's closer to St. John's, the capital, in case we wanted to go there. And third, it's west facing, so we can watch the sunset dip into the ocean every night if we wished. And we watched every night. Worth it. Now, we didn't consider sandals. We were going on a beach vacation to a small island in the Caribbean where we wanted to sample the local cuisine and also spend most of our time just lazing about. We figured all-inclusive was overkill for that. So we ended up staying at Antigua Village, which was a condo complex that just happened to be right next to Sandals. And it really fit the bill. Now, one thing to think about on any vacation is whether you're there just to take pictures and videos or if you're there to relax and enjoy yourself. So many vacations are seen through the lens finder of a camera rather than through your own eyes, relaxing and just experience what's around you.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
We decided to do the latter. So in this video, I've got some good shots, but there's really not any sweeping pageantry. There's also some rushed clips, but whatever I've got, I did that and then put away my camera and really enjoyed what I was doing and seeing. Think about that on your next vacation as well. So the only activity we booked in advance was a boat tour all the way around the island, the Xtreme Circumnav as they called it. At about 9 a.m., we waded in the water right near Sandals and got aboard the power boat with about 20 of our closest new friends and went for a tour around the island and the beaches. So we got underway, and this is our crew. You had Gilligan, the skipper, and of course the professor, in case anything went wrong. We left Dickinson Bay with some speed going around the north coast of the island, heading for Long Island, also known as Jumby Bay. As we traveled through the channel, we were told of the rich and famous that own homes or take holiday on Jumby Bay, including Oprah, Dolce and Gabbana, Paul McCartney, Mariah Carey, Lionel Messi, Rowan Atkinson, and J.K. Rowling. They pointed out a couple of huge estates by noting where the roof begins and ends some distance away. This is quite an exclusive island. We then headed for Hell's Gate Island, which is the home to Hell's Gate Natural Arch. As we got there, they pointed out the shape of the arch is very similar to Africa, and if you look real hard, you can see Africa about 3,000 miles away. Yeah, you have to look real hard. So we continued on to our first stop that day, Stingray City. Now there's a natural dock set up, and you walk down from the dock into waist-deep water on a natural sandbar. The water is warm and lovely, and the stingrays swim among you. There weren't a lot of them that day, maybe only 3. We'd done this before out in the Caymans, and the stingrays were plentiful that day. But still, these guys were friendly, and we did get to hold one in our arms that was about 3 feet wide, which was kind of interesting. Now, if I was better looking, I probably would have popped for the $15 for the actual photo. Nevertheless, here's a photo of a very nice couple that I got off the web. We then zipped off to Green Island for lunch. Green Island is the largest uninhabited island in Antigua, and its beaches are, of course, lovely. So we had a nice picnic lunch, relaxed on the beach, the rum punch flowed freely, and then we were off. We zipped around the southeast corner of the island on a very fast ride. It had a lot of bumps, a lot of laughs, and a real lot of spray some of our compadres took to putting on their snorkel masks. We passed by Steadfast Point, which is entirely owned by Eric Clapton. He has a huge estate, of course, a guest house, and Crossroads, which is the center he founded to help treat those who are recovering from substance abuse. How about that? Good for him. Along the southernmost point of the island, we went by the Pillars of Hercules, which is a natural rock formation caused by the wind and the waves. We turned into Freeman's Bay and English Harbor and Nelson's Dockyard, yes, named for that Admiral Nelson, who served here before he went on to fame at the Battle of Trafalgar. We cruised around the docks, seeing the boats moored stern in to create space and other ease of use, while our crew gave actually a quite interesting spiel on the Dockyard, which is a natural park and a UNESCO heritage site. We then returned to Freeman's Bay, dropped anchor, and went snorkeling within sight of the Pillars of Hercules. It was a good day for it. The fish and the reef creatures were plentiful. But all too soon we had to go back to the boat, pull up the anchor, and head for home. All the way back, the crew gave us a nice tour of the sites along the way on the west side of Antigua. And soon we were back into Dickinson's Bay, disembarking and going home. We really enjoyed our day. Then for the next 2 days, we did exactly what we'd planned to do. Nothing. And that was the whole point of coming here. So here's our condo in Antigua. And if we made a little breakfast with some eggs and local fruits, we can sit out here and have breakfast. We've got a veranda to enjoy the nice weather in. And a day when it rained, we were able to just sit here in the warm weather and enjoy ourselves. But the best thing about this location is that you turn around and there is Dickinson Bay. We just get on these chairs and just sit and enjoy the sun and the rest of the Caribbean. To the left, you've got a cocktail bar, you've got a nice restaurant, you've also got a fish and chip shop if you want something quick, which we did. You have a floating bar out in the water where they'll come and pick you up. And then, of course, when you look down Dickinson Bay, we're right next door to Sandals, north to parts unknown. Not a bad location. We got up late, we ate eggs and fruit, and sat on the beach. We had a lazy lunch somewhere, sat on the beach some more, and then watched the sunset and had dinner and maybe a few rum punches or other fun things to drink. And then the next day, we did it all over again. And what sunsets they were. It was 75 degrees out, perfect, and the clouds seemed to scurry away as the sun got lower in the sky. Now this is over the floating bar out in the bay. This is as the sun started to get deeper and lower in the sky. And this is when a cruise ship happened to pass in front of it. And here's the sun disappearing right at the end.
Oh my God, we had it just disappeared.
This was also during the Parade of Planets when all 7 planets were visible in the night sky. We never did catch a glimpse of Saturn, even being that far south and with clear skies. But here's a nice shot of the moon with Venus. The moon decided to show up during the Parade of Planets as well. And here's another one where Mercury is also in the shot. Now, I didn't take any shots of Mars and Jupiter. They were high in the sky and very easy to find. And as for the rest, always remember, you need a telescope to see Neptune and a mirror to see Uranus. Astronomy humor. Catch it. By the way, speaking of planets, I grew up in an age when Pluto was a planet. Now, some knuckleheads may have downgraded it, but Pluto, buddy, I'm still feeling the planet love. So remember how I said that the boat tour was the only tour that I'd booked? That was true, but on Saturday night when the rum punches were flowing freely, we agreed with some other couple that we had just met
At the bar?
Calibars, yeah, that I wouldn't order.
to go on a driving tour of the island with Kenny, one of the locals that's well known on the beach. The next day, we couldn't even remember what we'd agreed to, so we had to go scrambling for money. It turned out that the local ATMs weren't working. So we knew that the ATM down in the casino, as we'd been told, was working and would give us US dollars. So we thought, let's go down there, go to the ATM, and then we can see the sights and sounds of St. John's. Well, it turns out St. John's is closed on Sunday. But we did manage to find a ice cream shop and one shop that was open where I got this snazzy shirt. So it turns out we'd agreed to a driving tour of sights and the beaches of Antigua. Kenny showed up in the morning to pick us up and immediately took us over to have a wake and bake. A wake and bake is a 19% vodka energy drink. So it'll wake you and then it'll bake you. Kenny chugged his down along with the rest of us, and then we were off.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
So the first sight we saw was a local neighborhood, and Kenny drove us past his uncle's house, which now belonged to him. Now, it probably looks something like this. I didn't catch a shot of it, but remember this house. It gets important later on. We took off down Route 5, and the first thing we saw was the Sir Vivian Richards cricket ground, a nice-looking modern stadium. Now, Kenny was surprised that I was a cricket fan and that I'd heard of Viv Richards. Well, anyone with cricket knowledge would have heard of the Master Blaster, as he's known. He was considered one of the top 5 cricketers of the last 150 years. That's not bad from a country of 60,000 people as compared to, say, India, a cricket-mad country with over 1 billion people. Now, as we went along, Kenny had anecdotes for every sight we saw and even sights we didn't see. He was nonstop, full of knowledge, and very entertaining and animated. And always, when he'd digress, he'd always look back at us and say, okay, back to the tour. We continued on to Betty's Hope, which is a former sugar plantation with windmills, a museum, and some outbuildings. And it's time for you all to meet Kenny.
All right, guys, so we're here at Betty's Hope, the sugar plantation, with me and my boss man friend right here. And we just had some wake and bake, and I'm Kenny Beach, bada bing, bada boom, back to the tours. And of course, you know, it's back to the tour with us in Antigua, Betty's Hope. Check it out. So they're the ladies over there somewhere, and they are probably looking at some tarantula hoes. So this is gonna be like, this is our first take, and
the best take.
And the
This is the tour that you don't get off a cruise ship.
that is it. Yeah, so we're doing the real island stuff, and like we always say, back to the tour.
We walked the grounds and Kenny showed us the legendary tarantula holes.
Push the thing down in the hole like this. Oh yeah. I see him. Push it and get that down some more. Get that down there. Gotta wiggle it around.
Okay, he got us. And then we piled back in the car and we were off again.
Back to the tour.
We then went on to Long Bay and the beach by the Grand Pineapple Beach Club. We lunched on the beach and on fresh fish and cocktails and swam in the pleasant waters. From there we went on to the Devil's Bridge National Park, which is home to the Devil's Bridge Natural Rock Arch. Since there's no land between there and Europe, the trade winds blow on the waves and cause some nice erosion, crashing, and natural wonders that we got to see. It was quite a difference from the Long Bay that we just went to, which is sheltered and calm. And this is the Devil's Bridge. Seen from the side so you can actually see the bridge. We just arrived at the Devil's Bridge behind me. Our tour guide, Kenny, just got a call that his house that we drove by on part of his tour into the real Antigua, as he called it, his house is just burned down. So he's dealing with that while we are walking around the Devil's Bridge ourselves. That's not something that usually happens on the tour. Despite this, he remained himself for the balance of the day, in good humor, animated, and telling us that they'd actually done him a favor because he was talking about tearing it down and rebuilding anyway. So while other tour buses basically left after people saw the bridge, Kenny took us out to the blowholes and demonstrated to us how he's harnessed nature.
Right, from your grave. Back to the tour.
The guy is a hoot. We zipped across the island towards Curtin Bluff, passing Mount Obama on the way, but it's now back to its original name of Boggy Peak, as well as passing through the rainforest, where Kenny demonstrated to us, of course, that you can never starve in a rainforest. We're here at Curtin Bluff Beach, and in the distance, barely visible, is Montserrat, the volcano. We continued on to Morris Bay Beach, and we stopped for a swim and, of course, some refreshment. We were still wide awake, but we were still baking. Here is Little Ffryes Beach, home of the Sleeping Indian. Despite our best efforts, wake up, buddy. He stayed asleep. So we moved along, serenaded by the rooster song, Get Up. Maybe that would have worked on the Indian. We somehow made it to our last stop. We are at Valley Church Beach. And there is Kenny. Woo-hoo.
Bada bing, bada boom.
We got to mix and mingle because
because we gotta communicate with the universe, and unity is strength, right? Welcome to Antigua, heart of the Caribbean.
Kenny called it the beach of a billion shells, and he was right. He also introduced us to hermit crab races.
One, or the fat one, or the round one, or the small one. All you gotta do is pick one. Which one you want?
Take this little one.
All right, all you gotta do, come on, this one's girls versus boys, so girls versus boys.
The ladies' crab had won the first two, so us guys were hoping to stay respectable in the last race.
Go! All right. So the boys are going on. The girls with the fat. Oh, yeah, we got a race now. Come on, let's go. Oh, my God. She probably should pick the one with the
Here we go.
and girl power.
It was not to be. So we lazed about for a bit more, of course having some more refreshment, and then our day was coming to an end, and we headed for home. We passed by the American University of Antigua. Now we were all convinced that it used to be named the University of Antigua, but after the election, it somehow got changed. And when we got home, we sat on the beach, had some refreshment, watched the sunset, had some dinner. What else would you expect? Somehow that program never got boring. The next morning we packed and headed back home. We really enjoyed our short but sweet getaway vacation. But will I go back? Probably not, or at least not anytime soon. There are a lot of places to go in the Caribbean. I've been to many of them over the course of the last 50 years, but not all of them. I'd probably put Turks and Caicos and Trinidad and Tobago at the top of my list of the next places that might be fun to see. So that's a decision for another time. And let's see what happens with the restrictions on travel to Cuba, eh? So that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, or maybe started thinking about going to Antigua or somewhere in the Caribbean, give me a like. I'd sure appreciate it. And don't forget to share with someone who might enjoy it as well. And also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my nutty content that may be coming out in the future. Until then, this is that retired guy who's lived through the 60s twice and, as you can see, is still having fun. So long, everybody.